Hello and welcome. I am Laura Cragun, an intuitive eating and latter-day life coach. This podcast is for women who want to ditch diets, find body acceptance, and discover food freedom. As a fellow woman who wanted to lose weight for years, I know how it felt to be trapped by diet culture and at war with my body. Through my own hard work and struggles, I finally found a solution that helped me break free. The plan to get there: intuitive eating coupled with life-changing lessons of mindset overhaul and the gospel of Christ. I promise that as you follow these things I teach you here in this podcast, you will find happiness, peace, and most of all, freedom from the war with your body. So let's jump in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I have something really cool today for you, something different I've taken. Different route. You guys have been hearing me a lot lately, but now I'm going to start adding people into this podcast and having more voices speak. And I'm just really excited to that because this is all universal. There's so many people that have ideas of what health means and our mental health. And so I have here today Shantelle Flake. She is a certified Optavia coach. And I am so excited to have her on today because she has an amazing, I feel like, as we talked earlier, an amazing concept of talking about our worth and still focusing on what our improvement will be after the fact. So thank you for being here, Shantelle. I really am excited to talk to you today.
I'm so excited, Laura. Thank you. I feel honored to be the first one. This is awesome.
Yes, I met her at a networking group and it was just really fun. And we were just talking about how the feeling was in that room because we're all women trying to make that change and help and love. And there's that support and community. That's part of what I love now about maybe having some more people. I'm going to try maybe do every other week, have someone come on. So thank you for being here and tell us more about what you do and who you are. And
Yes. So yes, I'm Shantelle Flake, and I have been a certified Optavia coach for 10 years now. So it's weird to be able to say a decade, but I just have a big passion in helping people with health. I have always been interested in health in the past, even from like a young age. I went 6 years without eating sugar. Like it started as just like a bet with my parents. And I realized how amazing I felt and how I was just curious as a kid, like how nutrition and how health and mindset and all those things work together. And so it kind of just went to the day I got married. My husband stuffed cake in my face. And then I was like, you know what? I'm on to the next phase of life. So I can't say I eat sugar now and it's not something I teach or anything like that. But I think it's interesting that I had that natural curiosity as a child. And then I moved to a fitness instructor, and I loved that feeling of just having people smile and just feel good about themselves, being able to exercise. And so I realized that was very one-sided though. It was very working out was 1 hour of the day. And then what do you do the other 23 hours really impacted health even more so. And that it was a lot of that mental part. And so that's when I decided to become a certified Optavia coach and kind of start my journey in just exploring what that looked like in helping other people. And in turn, honestly, helping myself. Because I struggled. I had no idea that my mindset was not in a good place, that I treated health so tightly. Like I remember stepping on the scale. I was obsessed with the scale. I would step on the scale and I would just, all of these negative emotions and feelings would overcome me. And I would feel like it would just get out of control at any moment, that I felt this, like I had to have this control on my health. And fast forward 10 years later now that I've worked on that and done the work, it doesn't happen overnight. As you know, Laura, it is a process and we're not perfect. But I will say the biggest thing that has changed is that I feel light. I feel like I have a confidence in health and that I never had before, that I just know, I know not only what I should do, but like my mindset, I'm at peace with it. And it honestly, my actions are hardly even different because I still did healthy habits then. I still do healthy habits now, but I just think about it differently.
Yes. I could see it in your eyes. You are happy. And that is the phrase I use a lot. And also having peace. I mean, that's what we're all looking for, to feel in alignment of us being in our bodies, but not fighting it back and forth. That it's really at peace. And then we come together, and there are different tools, it seems like, that you use to do that. So tell me more to that, and what it is what's that magic sauce for you, what you guys teach.
Yeah, so I think it's different for everybody. I think everyone starts at a different place, but I think I'll just share something that has helped me personally, kind of a realization that I've had. And I think I mentioned this the first time I met you, Laura, and your work that you do, and how much I identified with your perspective on these things too. But I felt like I knew I wanted to change, and there are many people that come to me that want that change. You know, I think, especially as women, I think we're really good at noticing the things that we don't like, right? It's like it is very forefront. We almost forget all the things that we like about ourselves, and we think these are the things I don't like. And these are the things that I've got to change. And we become obsessed with these things, right? Mm-hmm. And so that seems very heavy. And it is, and it's almost like we're like thinking that we can hate ourselves to health. Like, if we don't like these things enough, then I'm going to change. Like, I have to not like the way I look in the mirror. And if I'm disgusted enough, then one day I'm just going to go on a diet and change everything. Like, this is the mentality that some people are stuck in, right? But what I have learned is switching this mentality. And the way that I've been taught this, and the way that I like to teach it, is that there are two different categories. The first category is a category where it is, you are whole, it's your worth. You are whole, complete, lovable the way that you are. Literally, you cannot touch this category. It's untouchable. Okay. That is who you are. You are a child of God, and nobody can touch that. So no matter what you try to do, you cannot fix, you're not going to try to fix that category. So if you're coming from a place of change, know that this first category, that's where we start from. If you can believe this, and if you can get solid in your understanding of that, then there's a second category you can move to. And the second category is super fun. This category is what you want to create in your life, the experiences that you want to have. And this is fun. This is light. Did you know that health? Well, you know this, Laura, but health is fun. Like, it's not this big serious thing that's like glooming, you know. Our worth, if we know that we are solid in our lovability and worth, then when we move over to this category of just your experience, then we can look at, hey, what do we want to be able to do in our lives? And what do we want to experience? And then we can go to work creating that. And this applies in health. This applies in business. This applies in anything, in our families, our relationships. But it's the point of just like lightness. And so that's what I like to talk to my clients about, and people that are around me is what are you wanting to create in your life that would just excite you? And there's something different. There's a different feel. And I'd like to hear what you think about this, Laura, because it almost like takes the pressure off, that you're not trying to go in that first category and fixing all the things and hating yourself enough. It's like, you now look in the mirror and you say, you know what? My weight, or what I see in the mirror, does not change who I am. But guess what? If I want to be a different size, if I want to look a different way, if I want to change my hair color, I can go change my hair color. It's just like that. It's just as fun as that.
The power. Yes. I love it. Yeah. I think you're seeing yourself as someone that is good as they are right now, but that you can go and change and have other parts be new for you in your script and this journey that you're on. And I like that it's focused on being a creator, because I know we both believe in God and our Savior Jesus Christ, and that's part of it, is that they were creators, and they're satisfied and happy with themselves, but not to be there forever. That they do want to have some changes, and it's out of love that they go do those changes. And now teaching us, their children, same thing here in our world right now. I love that focus, that we can love ourselves to then change too. That's also a form of love. It's a form of the self-actualization, I feel like, kind of on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And
Yes.
there's the self-esteem is right there, the low self-actualization, but to then go above and find something that's actually even more fulfilling. And that's part of us here learning and growing. And I really love it. And you said it was lightness. So tell me more like that. Why you said it brings light. Like, what is that? Tell me more. I like that word.
Yeah. It's almost like the example, like if I were to hold a ball, I wish I had a ball right here, but like sometimes we have this tight grip on our hands, and it's like we treat our health and everything in our life, our relationships, that we're just like trying to hold on to life, right? Like the death grip of like, I can't let it go.
Yeah, white knuckle. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we don't realize we can just like flip our hands over, palms up, and we can just like let it loose, and we can still hold the ball this way, and it can just like settle in our hands, and we don't have to have a death grip over it.
Right.
And that there's this beautiful nature of the creation that we don't even have to have shame around it. I remember I used to have shame around, why do I even want more? Like, why do it not being, understanding that I am like the worth of who I am, and not being afraid to even want more, that it doesn't mean I'm not grateful for what I have, but I can still want more and still want a different experience with still being grateful. So you can have both sides of it, and just treating that super light.
Okay, that makes sense now. I wondered if it was light, like shining a light, or feeling of heaviness and light, which it can be both. So that's good that you clarified that for me. Because that, in letting go, we actually make happen. Which I have right here. I use this in my course material, this Chinese finger trap analogy, where we keep pulling. And that's why it's so close, because I use it a lot. And we just keep pulling and pulling, and actually nothing happens. But when we let go, it starts to come off and come out. So
that's perfect. Yes.
It's really part of our life in general. As we let go, it actually works out. Because who's in charge, honestly? Not us. I think it is, but it's not. Love it though. Okay, so that makes sense there. Now, tell me more about what your people and what you hope to shift people to on that second category. What more they find, like, to a little more specific. I mean, it's each person is going to be different and find their own way that they create that life around you. What have you seen be really powerful for these women and men, probably with that has been part of that creating in second category?
Yeah, that second category, like I said, is just fun. So I like to dreamweave with people, and so often we don't stop. We're in the hamster wheel of life, and it's just, I mean, I'm totally guilty of this. We're talking last night, carpool, like down to the 10-minute 10 minutes. It's just like carpool after carpool, kids, this, and like, you don't even have time to even look in the mirror and like see yourself. Right. And so
sad.
Taking the time to say, I am a person. I am not just mom. I am not just wife. I am not just whatever other title you have. I am Shantelle, and I have goals and dreams and desires myself. And I am worthy of creating that and getting those. And I know that I can, having the hope and the tools and the resources to be able to do those and invest in that. And so I think the first thing is to stop and just get clear on what that is. And that usually takes a conversation. It's just some journal writing with a mentor. I know you're doing these with people, and just really understanding what is it they want? Because if it can come from intrinsically versus extrinsically, if someone's telling you you need to do a certain thing, like if a doctor says you have to do this for your health to get off this medication or whatever, that is very not motivating, right? Sometimes maybe for somebody, or if a parent were telling you, or if a child or whatever, if a spouse was nagging you to be a certain way, it's not very motivating. But the most motivating comes from, what do I want out of my life? Who is a person that I want to become? And then if you can start from there, the final, like the desired outcome. And then you have to get clear on where you are now, your current reality. You have to get really honest with yourself. It's scary, right? Because sometimes we don't want to admit where we actually are. And then we can be clear on what the steps are leading up to that. The secondary choices of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And often those are kind of the mundane choices each day that we're going to be taking. And sometimes we're resistant to those. But if we know that these are going to bring us this, then we're like way more willing, and the resistance goes away when you know what the final outcome is going to be.
Right. And I love that that is what coaching is, right? It's just bridging that gap of where we are now, from the real to the ideal. And that, but the only fuel that makes that happen is if it is intrinsic. I love that. It gets really raw, really real. So what have you seen, what really brings people to that point where they finally surrender and finally make those changes that you have found?
I think that's different for everyone. I think that you have to get to a point of you're just so ready for the change. Like maybe you've tried a lot of things. Maybe you have the desire. I often ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your motivation? And if it's not above a 7, then I say, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Let's look at some other options, but we're not going to move forward with this option if your motivation is not over a 7, because nothing's going to happen, right? So I think that that's really seeing where that motivation lies and where you are.
Yeah, the motivation is key. And that it doesn't, I guess what came to my mind too is the discomfort of not having that desired result is finally greater than the discomfort of actually making the change. I know there's a better quote to that.
Okay, I know the quote you're talking about. Yeah.
That really then it flips upside down, like, because we're in that state and that living with we'll tolerate how it is there, but then it becomes a point where it hurts so bad to see that I can't do this or that with my family because of my health, and that now I really want to. And this is actually my father-in-law right now, and he's really making some changes and some really cool, even just starting with those videos where they do the exercises with the chairs, and they're on the chair and they do exercise, and because he is starting to see that he wants to be with the family and longer. I mean, it's hard when his wife has passed away, my mother-in-law, but it's really cool. And my husband and I were just talking about it last night. Like, this is so different. He's been overweight for a long time in his life, but then a leopard can change their spots. And I love how you're wearing you're kind of wearing spots. You're wearing the more of the leopard spots. Mine's just a random pattern, but I think that's kind of, I know, it just came out right now.
I love that. And with that quote that you're saying, I remember and also quote something to the effect of, both are hard, so choose your hard. Where sometimes we think like, well, you know what, like this, it's so hard to change. I don't want to have to go through all the change of, like I gotta change my habits. But then if you think about it, the path that we're on, the current path, that's also hard. Like I talk to clients that are like, you know what, it's hard not being able to fly on an airplane or ride in a roller coaster with my grandkids. And so it's actually hard to change my health habits, but it's also hard to do those things. So I just got to pick what kind of experience I want in my life. Again, it goes back to, it doesn't change their worth, whether they can fit in that roller coaster or not and go with their grandkids. It does not change their worth. They are still a child of God, lovable, whole, complete, but they don't get to ride in the roller coaster. So if they want to, then they can change in that.
Yeah, it's all about what we want. And our Heavenly Father is very clear on that. That's all based on the agency, which I think, with me being an independent person like I am, I think I was jumping for joy for that. And maybe you too, because being an entrepreneur in that way, we're pretty independent. We just love this choice that we have within ourselves. And so what if, let's kind of go back a little bit though. What if someone inside, they don't really believe they can, they're really starting to accept that as its truth. What would you do and speak to someone in that circumstance?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard one. Well, and the thing is that we have a tendency as humans, we take our past and we make decisions about our future based on our past, right? We say, what has happened in my life? What have I been able to accomplish or do in my past? And if I have been able to do that, then I have confidence I'm going to do this in the future. And then, but if we haven't done it in the future, if it's a new thing, then we don't think that we can. Our brain wants to tell us that we can't. And so that's what keeps us in the cycle of doing things, like the revolving cycle of just doing the same thing over and over again. And so to break out of that pattern, that takes thinking a new way. And so I guess my question to somebody who was feeling that way, which I've totally been there 100%, is number one, are you willing? I think that's the first question we can always ask is, are you willing to think of it differently? Are you willing? Mm-hmm. And if that answer is yes, then you can move on to the next one of, okay, are you willing to see it differently? And one question that I have, I mean, this comes from lots of books, and I'm sure you've heard this too, is are you willing to kind of look at how the opposite could be true as well? We are making up these things in our brains. These are just thoughts, whether we can or can't do something, or, whatever, we are making them up. They are not real. It's not fact. And so, right. And so if you're making them up anyway, on the negative side, that's keeping you stuck, you got to give the equal airtime to the positive ones and just at least ask your brain, what if it did work out perfectly? Right. Let's explore what that would look like. And what if I actually could do this? And then once you start exploring and being curious about this side of things versus just staying stuck in this side, then I would just suggest just being curious about it. You don't even have to go to, I believe 100% of myself, because that's a big jump, but just being curious. And what if the opposite were true of what I've always been thinking and I actually could? What then?
Right. And then everything else will fall into place because you've opened up your eyes to see it. It's actually probably already there. And that, it's kind of that law of attraction. Like we will then start seeing those ways that we can change, the ways that it actually is working in our favor. Because they were in that situation because our brains have a negative bias. We're trying to keep ourselves in survival.
Yep.
Right. And so that's why we have evolved as a people, because we use that forefront of our brain to then think, okay, that side is honoring and helping me still, but I also can override it and know that these group of thoughts over here that are new and scary to me, that are actually really positive, you're just not used to living there, that it's actually still possible to start creating that new reality. And so I could see that it being with all your clients. I imagine they're having great success with you and having that new reality be brought to life. And it is so cool to see that come about, and beauty that from, what do I say in the past? Beauty from ashes, because they was really hard before, I'm sure, for them.
Yeah.
People get to those breaking points. Surrendering I can't imagine that. It hurts bad when you actually surrender.
Absolutely. And just knowing that you're normal when all that happens. Like we somehow have this weird idea that we're going to be the ones that have that straight line success. And that because something comes up, like a doubting thought, that we're not meant to have that success or, move forward in this. It's like, I've worked one-on-one enough with people, and I know you have too, Laura, where the ins and outs, where there is never, I can confidently say this as an absolute, there has never been anyone that has changed that has not gone through the ups and downs. There are those ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes the process. It's a journey in that. And allow yourself to be human and be like, oh, Like, I just messed up and it's okay. Like, there's no shame. This is my brain we're talking. Like, I don't have control of my brain, but I do have control of what I'm going to do about it moving forward, and just like taking away all that shame.
That pressure, that shame, it really is. You have to be gentle and compassionate with yourself. And a lot of people, they'll just go right back to that. Like trials are trials until you learn the lesson. And that's probably where a lot of people are, is because they finally do have that compassion and gentleness towards themselves, that they're like, okay, that was really hard. Like with my whole journey with my mental health and having the severe depression, it wasn't until I finally accepted, and having that, I had a lot of non-acceptance before, because I grew up that way, and a lot of people do. They grow up with other people not accepting them. So I think that's the normal. They also don't have to, but when they do, they're not accepting them in that mess, in the sense that they'll be there forever. I mean, that's the whole topic that we were talking about now, is that they can change. They have the ability and the power within them, and compassion. It's all from that love within themselves. And so I guess is my last question, how can women and people that are really trying to help themselves with their health, they're at those points, it's really getting hard, how can they have that love? So it seems like the love is really that's going to feel this change that we've been talking about. How are they going to cultivate that?
That's the $1 million question right there. And that's where I think we focus, because if we move into the creation too soon, where we don't understand that category 1, then that's where problems come up, right? We're trying to fix ourselves. And so what I understand the question to be is like, how can we solidify that category 1 so that we can then move on to creation?
Right. Yeah. It is the whole thing itself. Love for you.
Self-love for sure. Yes. I would say there are so many tools out there that I feel like have helped me, and realizations that have helped. I mean, honestly, just what you have explained with the whole, I call it the nothing has gone wrong like mentality, where just understanding that we're human and that nothing has gone wrong, and that this is part of the journey and progress, and seeing those wins. A couple things that I like to do on a daily basis that really help me with that is, number 1 is meditation. I feel like I heard about meditation for so many years. My mom was a yoga instructor, and I used to think that was like a waste of an hour of exercise because you don't get your heart rate up. And I was like, okay, I'm missing something here. It's the meditation. It's a mind part, and getting calm, getting to a place where, also I've called it like coming home, like really understanding inside of you that you have everything inside of you that you need to complete, that there is nothing outside of you that that you need to complete the inside of you. Does that make sense? Like, everything is here. And to come back to that place when our brain wants to keep going all over the place, is coming back. And so for me, that just looks like a simple 5 to 10 minute, I would love to go to those retreats for hours and hours and, spend a weekend. This is my life, not so much, but 5 minutes a day after maybe I've read or something, and just silencing and just get really clear on that inner self. And then secondly, just a daily practice that I do is a gratitude. So just coming up a gratitude, and I'll combine that with like a win of something. Our brains are, again, like I said, our brains are really good at noticing all the things that aren't right. But coming up with the win and what I'm grateful for. So for me, that's really solidify. I think there's so many awesome tools, but I would say ask yourself too. And you're again, I have the belief that everything, you have the answers inside of you. This is not a question that you can ask somebody else, even if they know you really well. It's ask yourself, how can I solidify my belief that I am enough and that I am whole and complete? And you will have ideas. Your brain will go to work and come up with a bunch of ideas, and you will have one that sticks out. And if you do that, it's usually a daily practice. is what I have found, because that's the only way to change. It's the most boring, mundane way to change, but that's the only way. That's the only road.
Yeah, we measure by days.
Yeah, exactly. So those are, and you will come up with an answer for that.
Oh, I love that. You made it really practical ending there to help someone go on and put some action to everything we've said today. And also putting the power in them that actually you could say meditation and gratitude, which I was so glad you said gratitude. I had a feeling you would, because that is a very powerful practice, but that they'll know for themselves. It kind of surfaces of the spirit telling them what they need. And sometimes it might be you need to be outside in nature more, or you need to go forgive that person that you've been hanging on to that gripe about. I mean, it can look differently. Whatever is going to move the needle and make the biggest difference. And the spirit has a really, really good idea of that for us. So, and that they're going to go on and do that. So they can make that happen for themselves and create that change and be that creator in their life. The destiny is in their own hands. And that's how I've always thought. And I felt that answer from God telling me that before, that really the destination, my destiny is in my own hands, and it is for each of us, powers in us. So thank you for sharing all these things today. They were beautiful, wonderful things. These are gospel eternal truths, honestly. And across all Christianity and the world, all children of God, that these are beautiful, powerful things. So thank you so much.
It's principles. And whether it's in the spiritual realm or the physical realm or the mental realm, they're true principles, and they can apply to anything. And I just loved being on that journey and learning this and being patient with myself as I learned that. But thank you so much for letting me on. It's been so good to hear you and just where you're at. And I just have learned so much from you too.
Thank you. Well, we hope to talk with each other soon.
Yes. Thank you, Laura. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening, and I hope today's show filled your soul and gave you the direction you were searching for in your health, life, and relationship with God. I would love to stay connected. Subscribe to my podcast so that you can be the first to know when new episodes go live. And it would mean so much to me if you would rate and review this podcast just down below. Your words inspire me and give me that boost to create more inspiring content to share. I would love to meet you on social media. Find me on Instagram and Facebook. Also, if this show really inspired you today, take a screenshot to share it on social media and tag me, or click the share button to give it to someone else that would also benefit from these spirit-filled discussions. Let us all spread the good word of the gospel of Christ and help others in any way we can. Thank you again for listening today, and I look forward to connecting with you.